Today, we're gonna do something different. I'm gonna try to one-shot something here, so bear with me. HARK! Star Wars Unlimited Time. I'm kind of making this pretty quickly because it's not that I forgot to make a video this week, it was just WrestleMania weekend. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I spent most of the weekend doing that instead of making a video. But this is a video I've been wanting to make for a little while, so let's talk casual decks. I want to do a couple of these, get a couple of them out, because there's a lot of competitive decks out there. Everybody's got their Sabine build, everybody's got their Quinlan build, I've got my Boa build, you know. Everybody has a specific competitive build that they're putting a video out to talk out about. There's not a lot of people putting out casual build videos, and a lot of people, especially on Reddit, specifically ask for more casual content. Well, here it is. This is casual content for a casual game player in a game that doesn't really play casually. Let's start off our first video of a casual deck. We're not even gonna call it series, but just casual deck run through. And our first deck is going to be the new JTL Darth Vader. Getting right to the point, this is Vader green blue. We're running our 30 health base with shield generator complex because that's basically what we need. This deck is all about ties. That's why it's called ties. This is Vader's ties, right? So I basically tried to throw every single tie I possibly could in here. There's a couple of interesting choices, but let's just go straight through. We've got 3 copies of the regular tie line. We have 3 copies of Inferno 4, great tie to use, great effect. 3 copies of Kijimi Patrollers, not an Imperial card, but it does generate a tie. We have 2 copies of Onyx Squadron Brute. Could always use some base healing, and it's a 2/3 for 2. We've got 3 copies of Outland Tie Vanguard. This is actually a very, very good card because it does provide you with the option of giving the experience token to your token ties and other ties that you're running that could potentially stack up, especially with some of the other things we're doing. 3 copies of Tie Bomber, a 0/4 that does 3 indirect damage. It does threaten your opponent in specific aspects. It's also a tie that just goes into the tie deck, right? We have 3 copies of Wingman Black 2 because this is going to help us generate more ties as we're generating ties with the ties we're already generating. We have 2 copies of Interceptor Ace. I really like this pilot a lot because it's got grit, and then also the ground unit also has grit. But if you can keep this thing alive, say with experience tokens from the TIE Vanguard or potentially experience tokens with your Wingman Black 3, you could do stuff that way. The first of our lords that we're running is Black Leader. We have our 2/4 units that brings us, space unit that brings us +1/+1 to all of our other friendly space units. And because we are running a lot of space units and Vader can also pump out a bunch of space units himself, there's a lot of really cool stuff there. 3 copies of Wingman Black 3. Having 6 copies total of these 2 different pilots, 3 and 3, gives us the opportunity of adding those +1/+1s to ties that we need, which then can either generate more ties with Black 2 or generate more experience tokens with Black 3. 3 copies of Power of the Dark Side. You gotta have some sort of control in a blue deck. If you're running blue and you're not running your control pieces, it is a casual deck, but it also needs to try to win games, right? 2 copies of Item Versio. Love this pilot a lot, being able to give a shield token to something. You can throw this onto your Black Leader units in order to be able to pop the shield on there and give it some protection while also giving it +3/+3. It's a pretty decent option if you're not going to be putting Vader on your Black Leader. 3 copies of TIE Advanced. Drop a experience token on an Imperial unit. We are running a lot of Imperial units, some are not, but we do have enough that are. 3 copies of TIE Ambush Squadron. This is going to give you a little bit of pushing power into space where you can throw that ambush out, generate your 2 tokens, go from there. 3 copies of Commander Cody. This is your other lord that you're playing in here. So being able, as long as you have 3 or more units onto the board, 2 plus Cody, which you can definitely do pretty easily with this deck, you're getting that +1/+0 and Overwhelm. You're not too worried about the Overwhelm, but you are worried about the +1/+0. Overwhelming Barrage, another control piece. Much like Power of the Dark Side, you're using it to blow up your opponent's units. 3 copies of Darth Vader commanding the First Legion. We do have really cool Vader coming in, the fact that he can drop a lot of our different tools on 7 to be able to do things, being able to throw Vader into the Black Leader for your Lord, Vader into the Outlaw TIE Vanguard, giving the experience token, being able to drop Vader into the Kijimi Patrollers, and then maybe you get lucky and you can do a 2 and a 1 in addition to what you play for Vader. And then 2 copies of Scramble Fighters, because who needs more ties? We need more ties. Ties and ties and ties. So obviously, this deck gets wrecked by anything that can control the space arena. We're not looking at trying to build decks that are designed to take down everything in the meta. but much like the double green Captain Rex kind of surprise oops all tokens deck that runs the droids, the clones, and uses Unity of Purpose to be able to give a bunch of things extra stuff, we're just trying to eke out as many ties as we possibly can in order to be able to swarm our opponent and be able to defeat them with numbers. Because if they're only taking one tie at a turn, you can generate so much more advantage based off of being able to do stuff like that. And you have a lot of really good units that potentially can stick on the board, or if they don't stick on the board, they give you advantage by leaving the board. There's a lot of cool things that you can do here with these ties, and it's basically just oops, all ties. This is not that hard to put together, but it is going to be indicative of the things we're going to be looking at with this, again, not series, but these sets of videos moving forward. I have not tried this deck out myself. I should. I definitely own all of this, but I've been focused a lot on trying to build out my competitive deck and test that. But who knows? We've got the Galactic Championship coming up where I'm not going to be playing in the main event, so I could try and bring just a bunch of random BS that could be super fun, and this could be one of those decks. But this is designed specifically to be like, hey, what's our theme? Our theme is ties. Oops, all ties. And it's, we went blue because we do have access to a couple of extra TIE fighters in blue, and then we have the pilots of the Interceptor Ace and Iden Versio, which give us some extra benefit that we wouldn't have otherwise if we tried to go with red, which does have a couple ties itself plus the TIE Interceptors, but not as many cool pilots that can help with keeping some of these ties on the board. You want to have your pilots stick to your actual unit cards as opposed to the tokens, because you want to make sure that those things can continue attack each turn to be able to trigger that Vader, because remember, Vader triggers on non-token vehicle units. But you do want as many tokens as possible because you do have your two Lords of Black Leader and Clone Commander Cody. If you could get Black Leader on the board and Cody together plus a bunch of ties, your opponent is in for a world of hurt, and it's not going to be very nice for them moving forward. So there you have it. We've got ourselves a quick little tie build. There's not really too much that needs to be talked about. There can be alternates and stuff like that, but realistically, this is a basis of a deck that you can put together yourself. Sure, Vader is a legendary, the unit Vader is a legendary, but you don't have to use unit Vader. You can use literally anything else. There's not really too many super expensive legendaries in here besides that Vader. Scramble Fighters is a nonsense card that is super cheap. Nobody plays it, and you only need 2 copies of it. Everything else is either commons, uncommons, or rares. Lots of fun stuff that can be had with this deck, and it's the idea that I want to go forward with some of these videos. So I'm not going to make any promises about when the next one of these is going to come out, but I do have ideas for fun Rebel stuff, from fun Resistance stuff. Captain Phasma kind of builds herself, so we don't have to worry about a First Order deck, but there are some things that pop around in my head where I go, this could be interesting. Let's build a deck and not worry about the competitive aspects of the game. And that's the hope that comes across with this specific type of video. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you would add, what you would take away, what you think of this deck, and if you've used this deck, how successful you've been in playing against other decks in the format. Again, not necessarily competitive, just whatever your experience is, right? Remember to like and comment on this video, subscribe to the Star Wars Unlimited channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. Put this together very last second. The next video will definitely be much more put together, because at least I won't have a weekend of wrestling basically from morning till night to watch before having to put this together. But here it is, quick video, one shot. We just tried to go for it. Maybe we'll even call these one-shot decks and move forward with that. Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I've got. Thank you for joining me, folks. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in a tie in the stars.